for the Rockets, when the Lakers, the way that they play defense, one of the reasons they're so good is that Anthony Davis is one of the very best defensive players in the league. And the way that they played the Blazers after game one and the success they had, a lot of it was due to the way that Anthony Davis played the pick and roll. And basically, he's a guy who can play any type of pick and roll coverage. He can hedge, he can trap, he can come out, he can switch, he can do anything you want him to do. And that is one of the reasons why they were able to guard the Blazers so much better, is because he's so good. Against the Rockets, they don't run pick and roll. They're starting to run pick and roll now just to kind of get different switches onto Harden and to get Lou Dort off of him. But generally, they don't run that. They run a lot of ISO. And I think that's going to be really interesting for them because they're going to take Anthony Davis completely out of the play. They're going to have his guy in the corner every time. And he's going to be a non-factor on defense in that series. And if he cheats, they're going to pass out for wide open corner threes if the Rockets win, obviously. So I think that'll be fascinating. But otherwise, I actually sort of like their matchup against the Clippers. Unless Paul George is going to just go crazy, I think the Lakers actually match up pretty well against the Clippers, especially with the emergence of some of the guys on their team. So I actually have been more impressed with the Lakers. And I got to tell you right now, if you put that Nerf gun to my head, Jason, I think I might have a Lakers-Celtics finals right now.
I mean, listen, it would not be bold to say. The way they're playing, I did say, Clippers over Bucks. I think the Heat have a good chance, but I'm going to stick to I'm saying Heat in 6, but if the Bucks win, they're going to the finals. I think this is their toughest test. So we'll see. I mean, I'm going to go with, regardless of this Game 7 outcomes, I'm going to go with Lakers in 6, Clippers in 6, Bucks in 6, Celtics in 6. I think it's going to be 6 games across the board. That's going to be our Final Four. And I will leave
Number
you with
of the beast.
Prove me wrong, Milwaukee. Brooke Lopez, I would love to see you win a ring. Prove me wrong, buddy.
How crazy is it to watch? You mentioned Marc Gasol. How crazy is it to watch Marc Gasol and Brooke Lopez with getting no post touches in these games? These guys used to dominate. You remember when Marc Gasol was down there in the low block, just absolutely killing guys, him and Zach Randolph? And meanwhile, Brooke Lopez was one of the best post scorers of our generation. And now neither of those guys can get a single post touch during these games. It's wild. Blows my mind. So one last thing, Jason, before we go. I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention it. Just outside of the playoffs, there are now multiple head coaching jobs available. The Sixers obviously got rid of Brett Brown. My beloved Bulls got rid of Jim Boylan, praise be. The Nets are theoretically looking for a coach. I mean, there is a lot of Jacques Vaughn buzz. The Pacers, obviously, we talked about last week. The Pelicans, I mean, which of these is your favorite, Jason? If you were a head coach, who do you think you'd want to go to?
It's a tie between the Nets and the Pelicans.
Wow,
obviously, you
I'm
got
impressed.
the Zion factor and the young team there. And with the Nets, you have the chance to coach Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I think the Sixers situation is a bit more fluid because we don't know the long-term health and status and just morale of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. And you have the albatross contracts given to both Tobias Harris and Al Horford. The Bulls, I think, would be a great team for a young coach like Kenny Atkinson to come take over. And then, Ben, last week at this time, I was singing Nate McMillan's praises. This guy's been in Portland and Seattle, and he's just longevity. He could coach however long he wants, gets fired 2 days later. I was surprised, but I think the Pacers are going to take a huge step back. I mean, there's talks of trading Oladipo, who didn't really look great, when he came back from his injury. I mean, tough break from McMillan. I thought this guy was just like the NBA equivalent of just a guy that's always there, It's like death taxes and Nate McMillan being an NBA head coach.
Well,
and I was wrong.
They want to modernize the offense, which means shoot more threes, be a little more analytics heavy. And I think that they saw kind of the ceiling of their team, and they said they don't know a way to really increase it without a coaching change. But let's be real. The best coaching job here is the Nets, Jason. It's not close. I mean, if you look at the Eastern Conference right now, oh my goodness. I mean, comparing it to the West is a little unfair because there's 15 teams next year. That's every single one in the Western Conference for those not counting at home. Every single Western team is going to try and make the playoffs next year at this moment. Right now, they're all competing for the playoffs. The East, you've got to be thrilled right now if you're the Nets. Looking at the way the East is performing right now, the Bucks do not look like some unstoppable force. The Celtics debatably look the best of any team in the East. The Raptors are either going to have to pay huge money for Van Fleet or let him go. I mean, I just think if you're the Nets, you've got to feel like you have a conference that is up for grabs. Like if you have a healthy Kyrie Irving and a healthy Kevin Durant, you've got to feel like you're almost. I'm not going to say championship or bust, but you've got to feel like you're getting to the finals next year if you have everyone healthy. I mean, I maybe I'm going too far, but I mean, if you're a coach, you're going to come ready-made into a team that looks ready to compete for a championship.
No, listen, the talent's definitely there. It's just, getting it all to fit and getting a coach in there. I mean, Jacques Vaughn was interviewed today. The Greg Popovich rumors are still swirling around. Will the Spurs grant him an interview? Will he want an interview? Ty Lue apparently has his sights set now on
Mike D'Antoni.
Mike D'Antoni will never coach the NBA again. I know the Pacers might want him, but for what? It's a failed experiment time after time. You're telling me if D'Antoni goes to the Pacers, trade all their big men? Come on.
This is my favorite.
Build around T.J. Warren and Jeremy Lamb. Come on. I don't know, man. I think
it's my favorite seeing you get riled up about Mike D'Antoni as the potential Nets coach. It's just, I have to admit, there's not many things that I like seeing you get riled up about, but for some reason, Mike D'Antoni made your hate list for all time, and it just tickles me, the thought of him coaching the Nets as you guys have your best chance to win a title would be just, I don't know.
And I think this is something that Knicks fans can agree with me on. I mean, look, he's been doing the same style for
wrong.
14 years, 15 years, since the Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire Suns team. How many championships has that translated to?
0.
3 different teams, 3 high-octane offenses, coached Kobe Bryant, prime Steve Nash, prime Amari Stoudemire, prime James Harden. Where has that led him? Nowhere.
Whoa, you forgot prime Carmelo Anthony, high-octane offense, 2011 Knicks, sir. Don't leave them out of this discussion.
He has been everywhere. Suns, Knicks, Lakers, Rockets. I mean, eventually he needs to be an offensive coordinator. He cannot be a head coach. He needs to have an offense with a defensive-minded head coach. I'm going to make an NFL comparison there, right?
I love it.
It's like he needs to be a Josh McDaniels to a Bill Belichick. That's Mike D'Antoni's role.
You know what, Jason? There's literally nowhere I would rather end our show today than you getting a little riled up about Mike D'Antoni and saying that he should become the offensive coordinator for a team, which I would also just love to see. Maybe it can be like him and Jason Kidd, and Jason Kidd can spill his drink to get an extra timeout, and then Mike D'Antoni can do some offensive wizardry. But it's been fun. I think with that NFL comparison, we should all say good luck to everyone in your fantasy football drafts. For many of you, they're going to be this coming week. I know it's fantasy football season. So we appreciate you guys listening in. And please remember to subscribe, rate, and review.
5 stars, please. And just, I think we're taking next week off. I know it's a weird time with the playoffs going on, but Ben will be traveling, and then I'll be away Wednesday through Friday. So don't see us recording next week, but when we're back, we got the conference finals, and we'll probably record right after NFL Week 1. So this is our first time in 3 years we did not do an NFL preview. We usually do that NFL preview show because it's the off season, and we've just been so busy with the restart that it just slipped my mind completely. So thanks for listening. We'll be back in a couple weeks. Ben, enjoy your week in the 305. Tell Jimmy Butler I said hello, and safe travels back to Pittsburgh, buddy.